CILRAP should be understood as a long-term tendency that can help security and stability. If the people have freedom of religion, of belief, they contribute to the country, they strive for peace, for diversity, and it's exactly against extremism, against violence, against all the negative trends we see. And I think also that it's very necessary to start to teach the communities and the people in the communities how they can become more resilient. Another worries or challenge is rising influence of authoritarian regimes. I still remember the times, it's not so far away, when I thought that the world is becoming slowly better and better. Do you still remember that? Yes. We hope that actually democracy will spread out and the wars are just reminiscence of the old war. Did you have the same feeling like me? I still remember times that I didn't see that person on TV or on the internet. Do you still remember that time? Today, almost on the daily basis, we can see on the screen killing of people. So the times changed, right? And the authoritarian regimes are not like I expected that it will decline, they are growing. So we can see it on China first, I think. They are just behind the scenes, like doing business. Really, they have long-term thinking. I understood when I researched the Chinese New Year fire horse that they think in much longer periods because it's every 60 years would be again the same year. So their thinking goes to dozens of years and centuries, not like we, stupid, we think from day to day, right? So they have their time and slowly they gain more and more power. I just asked our dear colleague, Special Rapporteur Nazila Ghanea, about the contribution to the UN, and I saw the chart that the contribution from the US to the UN is declining, and the Chinese is growing because they. So once the people at the UN, they will be paid mainly by China, so it will be very difficult to make criticism, right? What also the level of democracy is actually coming down every year a little bit, little by little. And there are results for FORP. The Uyghurs are really in the camps, as you can see, the Tibetans on their territories. Small children are taken from their parents, sent to boarding schools. It may be that 2 weeks, 3 weeks, the small Tibetan children don't see their parents. They should speak only Chinese, so in a while they can't speak with their grandparents. And China says everything's all right, like we are fighting for FORP too. Or Christians, this is a person who is right now in China in detention because of a Christian belief. And we heard here in the fantastic previous panel about the surveillance, the level. I have a feeling that we are slowly coming to the time that we could not escape surveillance at all because it's everywhere. I made some comments towards Tibetans, towards Uyghurs, and the Chinese ambassador was complaining. And then I checked my house and I saw actually there is a Huawei router, there is another component, you know, so we should start to think differently because, and maybe also to understand that if they use some products like Chinese companies are actually making business on this Uyghur scams, we should to speak about it and ban such a products that were produced as a free labor work in the Uyghur camps and so on. We are afraid to do it. If I was asked about the challenges, not every country is ready to be to speak up, because we are too small, we need business, and so on. That's why we have to build communities or, let's say, alliances like the Article 18 alliance, because it's easier to sign something as a one of 100 or 40 countries than to speak alone. So if we speak about the rising influence of the authoritarian regimes, challenge is the expanding and risk that the repression will be something like normal, not be criticized anymore. Also, China is known for exporting not only all the surveillance, but also like transnational repression. They don't have actually borders. They can they can make surveillance of their people even in our country or your country. But I think, from my experience, the pressure works. Sometimes, not always, the authoritarian regimes are responsive. That means if we continue to criticize, they would like not to be blackmailed, and they change the policy. Even the Uyghur camps, at least cosmetically, a little bit change. So, and support civil society. I still remember to be behind the Iron Curtain, that when we received even moral help from the Western countries, philosopher came and met with our philosopher Patočka. It was tremendous support. We felt that we are not forgotten behind the fence. Do you know the joke with the father with his boy on his shoulders? They are coming to the fence, and the boy is asking, "Daddy, who is behind the fence?" And he says, "We are behind the fence, my dear. We are behind the fence." So I still remember that we need the support. If you even think about the people or do something small, it can really help. And another thing, and I'm very sorry to mention it here, but I'm very open with you, it's the US policy shift. You know that there was a program to withdraw from 66 international organizations. I'm very happy to say that at least United States is still part of the Article 18 alliance. Still Secretariat is there, one of the very little multinational forums. United States I see as the biggest actually fighter for FORP from all other countries. The programs, like the program of CPC, is something that should be actually copied by all the other countries, because if we increase pressure on those countries, they will really change. In our alliance, we agreed that we will try to share sanctions. So if one country does sanction about another country or individual because of violation of FORP or some massacre of Yazidi women, for example, we should get the evidence and we should apply the same sanctions. If the perpetrators will see that they can't travel suddenly whole Europe, United States and other countries, they will think twice to be even proud on their atrocities presented on social media. The same with the visa ban, the same with the law. We have few German colleagues here, and I think you are the lawyer, right? I admire our system, legal system, that allows that if somebody does a massacre, for example, in Afghanistan or another place, or we spoke about Iraq, Yazidi women, so another person can bring evidence to the German court, and even this person doesn't live in Germany, can be put to the court and can get fined. And then when travel to Europe or somewhere, they is arrested and put to prison. Fantastic system, should be actually copied by all other countries, because now we are in the situation that if somebody did massacre in Ukraine of innocent people, he can travel to Great Britain and enjoy London and go for vacation and go back. It's terrible. And if we start to apply such a rules, it will really help to change the system, I promise. So what to do with the US policy shift? So I think we should to stay connected. We can't do it without our colleagues. And I think we should also reframe it. That means that we can still be on the same base. We can go the same direction. But also, for me, it's a great challenge to activate more other countries, not to leave everything on Americans as it was before. We have tremendous power if we work together, we middle-sized or little countries. We spoke here about disruptive technologies and AI. We know for sure that Facebook admitted that when there was a crisis in Myanmar, that actually it was the bloodshot was also caused because of the algorithms in Facebook. And we still don't know what will happen with the AI. But the story of the golem that was mentioned, I would like to ask Professor, what is the message of the story of golem, according to your opinion? So I think that the message, Rabbi Lev created the golem. He used the Jewish mysticism. He quoted so-called tserufim, that means the secret combinations of God's name, because you know that in Hebrew you write God's name with 4 letters, but no vowels. So if you put vowels one after one another, you have a big number of possible pronunciation of the secret name of God, but one is right. So he started to say them. They went around the golem. When they finished the 7th time, golem started to breathe and open eyes, helped to the community, but on the end, he turned against his creator. And I think this is the message of the golem story from Prague, and this is maybe warning against what we do with AI too. Maybe. So the challenge is enable surveillance, repressions. The risk is targeting religious minorities at scale. But I think we should to be a step ahead. That means we should to use AI as a early warning system. We should to use it as for monitoring of hate speech, escalation risks, and other. And I think we don't do enough. And I would propose that next time this will be not about just what is the problem, but how we can progress together and be a step ahead. I'm worried by the political misuse and instrumentalization of religion. Actually, the highest representative of Russian Orthodox Church is former KGB agent, and he's repeating the propaganda of war, which I think it's really very bad. The Russian priests, Orthodox priests, are blessing not only soldiers, but also weapons. Even the rocket called Satan was blessed by a priest. And this is something that we see not only in Russia, we see it also in Europe, and I don't speak about the United States, okay? I leave it for them. This is our answer. I collected people from all religions, Christians, Jews, and Muslims. We went to Bucha, to the place of massacre that I mentioned already twice today, and we organized a common prayer. This is like the voice of churches on the other side of the propaganda. So this is again 3 categories. Religion can be used as a tool for national agendas. We heard excellent presentation about it. But I think the churches should be vocal. That means if something happened, the churches should say it's not religion, it's misuse of religion. If some politicians, and I don't name any country in the Central Europe starting with H, I don't mention, but if somebody says like, we are fighting for the right Christian values, and they are just supporting their vision of politics, should be really by the churches. They should speak against it, we should criticize it, it should not be done. I come slowly to the end. Polarization, social media, hatred and violence. I call them anti-social media or asocial media because I think they are not really so much social. But I think the solution would be to engage more young people and to fill up the internet with positive content. And not only that, to enable understand the young children through their own experience. When I served in Israel, I took Jewish and Muslim children and I invited them to play soccer. But I didn't let them play against each other because they would be maybe fight. I mixed them into teams and gave them new identity. After 5 minutes, it was not important if he's Yitzhak or Muhammad, but if he passed the ball or not. And actually it was life experience for them. They will grow up and know that on the other side of the fence there is a small Muhammad that we played together and we won and got presents from the ambassadors. I spoke about the humor. Humor is essential. We should not lose humor in any situation, okay? And we can even beat the authoritarian regimes. They hate humor because it makes them trouble, right? They don't control it. Once, this is another strange decision by me, I ask young people what we can do because I think they have much fresher ideas than we have. And I regret it because the guy said, let's dress up as an Orthodox Jew, Orthodox Muslim, and non, and go to the soccer stadium of Sparta. Sparta, they are the hardliners, right? So I was afraid that we will be actually hit by somebody. And I was really afraid already on the tram. I took black glasses because everybody is watching me. And when we came there, everybody is watching, like you can see the guy. Nobody hit us, but I understood, but somebody said like, you know you are all right, but these two should go to, I don't know what he said, gas or whatever. It was very harsh, yeah. But nobody attacked us, at least. Everybody watched, and I understood that it's not so important for me what they think about me, but how I feel. And I understood that I'm like this, I change my clothes into a Muslim or Otto Jew, and suddenly I'm objection of everybody watching, laughing, comments. How stupid is it? If you bring the young people through such an experience, you don't need to lecture them for a week because this little experience changed their mind, of some at least. So this is the summary of polarization. So for me, solution, the literacy and building resilience, and also encourage interface dialogue. Last thing is my personal, I call it overcoming frustration. In my form work, I face frustration very often. The stories are said, my own institution is not really cooperating always, like they let me to do it, but not so much helping. I don't go into details. So, and also the cases, you fight for somebody and it doesn't help. I met with Pastor Lorenzo's wife. She came to my office and her husband in Cuba is in prison because he didn't allow that the Cuban regime will put his church into some organization of churches that the communists organize. So they put him into prison. I started to make a campaign for him, and thanks to my campaign from Prague, for a guy who sits in Cuba, the British Minister of Foreign Affairs issued public letter in support of him, published the letter, and when the Cuban regime realized that, they put him even into war's prison. So this was really frustration for me, because I tried just to help, and I had the permission of the family, they wanted that. But they told me, my colleagues told me, you know, it can happen, but it's better to make advocacy than not to make advocacy. In 2 weeks afterwards, I received a WhatsApp with video from the wife that he was released. It was fantastic. You can see just the picture. He is leaving the video, and when the gate was open, his daughter Lorena, son David, and the wife are jumping on him, and big joy. So sometimes it's worth to hold up with the frustration from all the situation, even your own institution, because it can be rewarded, it can help. So thank you very much for your attention. It was my great pleasure, and now it was like a little summary. The people can go and discuss it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ambassador Řehák. And I think all of us are starting inspired for this debate. Thank you for your inputs and for the openness too. And if you allow me in a personal note, and to see the involvement of your personal life and your personal physical safety to test not only yourself but society around you. Thank you for that. Now we are coming to our debate, and I would like to invite 4, 5 with exceptional people for us, and we are going to explain why in a moment. We start calling Dr. Ganoune Diop to join us. We know already him from yesterday and for a long time. I will introduce all of them later. Dr. Ibrahim Salama, please join us too. Dr. José, Eduardo, Vera, Jardim. And Dr. Mário, Brito. We also invite Sweeney from Trans-European Division to come to the floor. You will be ending this session. You prefer to be there? Okay. You want to take notes? Okay, that's fine. I will ask for a mic there. Oh, there is a mic already. Here, there, as you wish. Can I have a mic too here, and then I put it in the floor? Do I have a second one so I can move? So, you know, when we organize a conference, we try to be, we have some formalities, we have to keep time, we have to ask for inputs on the topics that we are going to address. But when we looked at this moment, we thought of having here 4 people that, it's 5 people, though, you have in the program. Unfortunately, Professor Asher Maoz couldn't be with us. Is the founder, honorary founder, and the Dean of Faculty of Law of Paris Academic Center of Law in Israel. For the reason that I don't need to explain, he couldn't travel to be with us this afternoon. So he is missed. This is his chair over here. But the other 4 are people that over the years, for several reasons, many of us have met and have been inspired and look up to. And we would like to have a real open session with open mic to all of you. That is, it's not a Q&A. I really hate that expression. But it's an open heart moment in which we will give some guidelines for that reflection, and that they can share with us their deeper thoughts, not only on the conference, but on the experience that they have gathered. Dr. Ganoune Diop has retired last year as Secretary General of IRLA in the United States, and also Director of the Seventh-day Adventist Church on the Religious Liberty and the Public Affairs Department. Dr. Ibrahim Salama is the current rector of the Faculty of Law at the British University of Egypt and was also presented yesterday. Dr. José Eduardo, Vera Jardim, which is an emotional pleasure to have you here this afternoon. I have to tell it in front of everyone. Is a key leader in religious liberty in Portugal, a reference to all that really have been living this religious liberty right in a different way since 2001. Because since 1996, as a Minister of Justice, then as a proponent member of Parliament in 2000, then now as the President of the Religious Liberty Commission, he was through all the process of the religious liberty law. And beyond all that, taking the time to always be close to the religious communities and have a word asking what do the communities need and help us. And I wouldn't say it's just for fun, but it is from a deep feeling of commitment that comes from, if you allow me to say, a deep democratic Republican principle. We also have Pastor Mário Brito. I say pastor in my language, Portuguese, because he's a pastor of mine. That even being retired as AIDLR president, he continues to work as a liaison in Geneva. He represented IRLA very recently, early March, at the presentation of the reports and the 4-week, and has been exchanging many experiences with other denominations, churches, and faiths. So this is the people that we chose for a final reflection. And my first question would be to you, Dr. Vera Jardim, because yesterday at dinner, you told me, I heard so much, so many people speaking about freedom, but I missed one word during this day. And I wanted to ask you, which word did you miss yesterday?
Okay, equality. Equality. Because freedom without equality is not worthwhile. When I took the Ministry of Justice, I didn't think about religious freedom. I had many things to do, as you can think of. Courts, prisons, and so on, police, and so on, crime. But after some months, and after speaking with some leaders of religious minorities, I take this task as a very important task for Portugal. Portugal has made a revolution, as you know, or most part of you know, in 1974. A revolution without many deaths, on the contrary. And 2 years after, there's a new constitution, democratic constitution. In this democratic constitution, there is an article, as in almost all the constitutions in the world, we must say, that defends the religious liberty in many aspects. But you have also in Russia an article defending religious liberty. If it not attack the state, this is a condition. And who attacks the state goes in prison. And it's not because of religion, but because he is a crazy man, a terrorist, they say. So my main objective was the following. There was a church, the Catholic Church. And when you speak in Portugal of the church, everybody thinks that is the Catholic Church. There is no other church. And I think in Spain is the same thing. Is one says, church says this and this, which church it is? It is the Catholic Church. And this, I was by education Catholic, as 90%. I was born. I I am older than your AIDLR, 8 years older. So I have seen many things. But my main objective was, there was liberty at that time. At that time, after the revolution, liberty was not a great problem. Of course, there was some little problem, but equality was the thing that was not present. In no way. And I think equality in the United States is very different. And I think this interest only for liberty, forgetting, equality came from the system of the United States. Because the Second Amendment and all the things that the United States has made after does touch the principle of equality. All the churches are equal. But in Europe it's quite different. In Spain, in Italy, and I don't speak for my Spanish and Italian colleagues, but I know the system. In Greece, even in Germany is different because there are two main religions. The problem is equality. It is not, with some exceptions, of course. It is because of equality that we didn't choose the system that exists here in Spain and in Italy. Because we think this is not the best system for equality. Because Spain and Italy has adopted, this is not a critic, of course, this is a de facto mention, has adopted the so-called system of agreements. We didn't agree with this system because this system is against equality. Because there are religions that have agreements and religions that don't have agreements. What is the criteria? What is the criteria? Of course, we can survey when they are much more, when they have an influence in the society and so on and so on and so on, we make an agreement. But this is the state that decides. I think the best system is all the rights for all, of course, having in sight that there are some religions, and we have adopted this, as is the system in Spain, that some religions have a special status because they have been in the state for many years, and so they have a special system of rights and also obligations. So it was yesterday I heard about liberty. Today it is the time perhaps to hear something about equality.
Thank you so much. I would like to go to Dr. Ganoune Diop. I'm not going to ask you about fraternity yet. We went from liberty to equality to fraternity, but I'm going to ask you about dignity, Dr. Ganoune. Dignity. You have, for so many years, I know you, and you always link religious liberty to human dignity. How important it is this foundation to find for religious liberty for you?
Well, I think it was Jeremy that alluded to the fact that definitions are important, that, we have to have a consensus of what we are talking about, So let me just expand briefly on what we call religious freedom, because there are actually several dimensions that should be put together. So briefly, what is it? What is religious freedom? It is a universal human right. So I think I don't need to remind this, but it is also a political principle, a civil right, I can add that, a social right, a cultural right, and I may add here a spiritual endowment, So this is the dimension that those who connect it to religion say that God actually granted this. And a moral principle, and this is important. That's why when we talk about trend, what changes and so forth, maybe it is helpful to be careful to keep religious freedom, all these dimensions, and see what is it that is really neglected. Actually, for me, the most important I have not listed yet. Why? Because religious freedom is connected to the humanity of a person. As a matter of fact, I think this is really central to our reflection on religious freedom, because now, of course, this is not the legal aspect or so forth, but it is, when we say that people are, for example, in the Christian Judaic traditions, it is assumed that human beings are created in the image of God. And this idea is actually connected to the fact that humans are habitations of God. In other words, humans are temples of God. And then that means that the respect and the dignity actually of every human being is connected to this idea. Humans are temple, are habitation. So usually it's easier to respect a mosque, easier to respect like a cathedral, a church, than a human being. But human beings are more important than worship. Holy sites or worship places, whether pagoda, mosque, or you name it, church, cathedral. So I think this is probably one of the neglected parts. We talk about religious freedom, political principle, legal. The legal dimension is important, but how about this one that defines our humanity? And human dignity is actually connected to that. This is why no person should be harmed, hurt, or humiliated precisely because of religious freedom. In other words, another way to say this, humans are temples, so that means it's like a human person has an inner sanctuary, right? Inviolable, that should be respected. And this is where then why religious freedom is actually a compound freedom. It includes freedom of thought, freedom of choice, freedom of expression, of assembly. Every human being should be granted the privilege to make his or her own decisions, because otherwise it is like once humanity is cancelled. So this is why I think it should be really included in our reflection. Human beings are sacred, and because of that sacredness, sacrality, then we can start from there to say, yeah, but this person, in order to keep the sacredness, sacrality of this person, then this person should be allowed to make choices, to decide according to one's conscience, not something imposed, not something exported from some other realm, but rather that affirm the right to dignity, and I will even say that right to dignity for every person. If that is missing, then yes, of course, we can be practical in helping people get out of prison, not being persecuted, and all those things. And I was for many years involved in those things, traveling the world, mediating, with government to be more I would not use equality there, but I would add the word justice in that sense, because that's also part of what is owed to every human being. Now maybe and I think this was an intuition when people started reflecting about the United Nations with its 3 pillars. The first one was peace and security. And of course, this can be understood in the context of the aftermath of World War II, or even before that, the League of Nations, World War I. So peace and security, the first one. And then second, justice and development, And then the third one, freedom. Freedom from want, freedom from fear, freedom to live in dignity again. So I think the international community has spotted the values that will make human flourishing a possibility. So again, you can see dignity is there, justice is there, peace and security is there, but all that, I think, is grounded on the infinite value of every person. It's okay?
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Do
so
not
much
interrupt
for the
me
answer.
again, okay? Thank you. All right.
Can we move to Dr. Salama? Thank you for your answer. When we have such great minds together, it's easy to interrupt, but it's also necessary that we go to the next ones. And yesterday, it's from conversations that we had, private ones, that these ideas come. And yesterday, you brought something to my mind in our walk from the City Hall that I think it's far too important for us to ignore. I know that I could put an open question to you, but this one is very specific. You were talking about the importance, the concern you have regarding the rising of extremism in a specific situation in the Muslim world because of the war we are living. Could you please enlighten us about that?
First, I'm very privileged to be between the 3 great minds, and to start by the 2 who spoke already. I cannot find a better definition of dignity except the combination of freedom and equality. And I have to confess, I'm struck that we don't have enough introspective, critical thinking of why is it, as Mr. Jardim just said, that we have much more freedoms and much less equality. To me, this is a genetic ill-conception, and je pèse mes mots, of the founding concepts of human rights as they are. It's an unfinished business. It is un chantier permanent. And people stopped. And as I said yesterday, the sentence that shocked me when I entered the Office of the High Commissioner 20 years ago is that the slogan, since Mary Robinson and Louise Arbour, both great High Commissioners, but still, I couldn't digest intellectually that they say that the human rights work is over now, it's time for implementation. And I think what Mr. Jardim said is exactly the opposite. We still do not have equality. And I think this frustration from lack of equality is very demonstrated by the fact that we found it normal that most of the world was silent during 2 years of Gaza, and the 2 years of Gaza are entering the 3rd year, and it's completely out of the news. And we're still talking about individual cases rather than whole peoples. And we still do not call a spade a spade. And I find this exactly failing to compliance and respect for the equality of attention that we should be giving. Now, my fear, and this comes to the point that we spoke about yesterday, is that the only natural reaction for the systemic and structured and continued lack of equality is that people will resort to other value systems. And of course, when rights are so limited in their vision, because they're missing equality and only focusing on freedoms, people quit. And the main diagnosis, I didn't hear at all, is that multilateralism at large is discredited. Human rights in particular are losing credibility for people's eyes. This year I was teaching public international law at the British University. I had a hard time convincing my students why are they studying public international law. So the discredit between Gaza, Ukraine, and Venezuela, and the total absence of proper reactions by Europeans, I mean, with the exception of Spain, frankly speaking, saying this without any intention to provoke divisions, but I found it intolerable. And because of that, religion will be the alternative value system, and people will take it as a tool for revenge. And it's not even Gaza with Hamas, which is Sunni, and Iran with the Shia martyrdom philosophy. It's also on the other side, in the United States and in Israel. We hear political instrumentalization of religion of the same kind. But we seem to fear one and not the other. To me, both are equally frightening. But they are frightening and they result from the inefficiency of the human rights system. And the word that I didn't hear, and I think we need to use it most, is rethinking what we have. What is it that is missing? And on this particular point, I think, to end on a positive note, commenting your question, I think that one of the main positive trends in my view, and I can elaborate about it later through a trajectory of events, is that faith actors are increasingly being brought to the discussions of human rights, and that there are numerous initiatives, and I include Faith for Rights as a catalyst of all of these initiatives that have been tested and show to which extent religions complement the MUP, the missing dimension of human rights, because it focuses on rights and responsibilities, it focuses on freedom and on equality.
Thank you so much, and I would like to remind that tomorrow at 10 o'clock in one of our side talks, are you listening to me? Is it working? No? Not working? Now it's working. Thank you. At 10 o'clock, Dr. Michael Wiener will lead a side talk for 1 hour, and I think that Faith for Rights will be included, correct? I will go to Pastor Mário Brito. For many, many years, I've listened to you talking about a continuous leadership program as a personal mission to bring people after us that continue the work in which we believe. So my question is divided in two. First, what is the importance of education and leadership for all these generations and young leaders that we have here? The second one, based in which values?
Maybe I'll start by the second one. We all are moved by ideals, values, and we all worship something. Even one that decides not to believe, they are worshipping unbelief. And their lives are aligned according to the ideals they have. So, when I'm here, for about 30 years I have been participating in this type of meetings. I'm more and more convinced that we need to find partners, individuals, that have the same heart for human beings, no matter where they come from, what they believe, because there is a deeper level in which we operate, all of us. The first thing is to discover what are these deeper levels that may allow us to connect or to disconnect. All of us, I speak for myself, in Portugal before the revolution, in primary school already, we were studying the history of the country in a very biased way. We had many fights with Castilla, with Spain. We were always the winners. One time came a colleague from Spain to visit Portugal. One of the colleagues took him to Aljubarrota and told him, I'm going to show you a site where the Portuguese had a big fight against the Spaniards, and they won, and they were just 1/4. The Spanish colleague says, I never heard about this battle. You know, and somehow we, as human beings, you know, I remember my brother say, you know, I'm from Benfica. You cannot be from Benfica, choose another team. And for this reason, I never had a team because I didn't want to be imposed a team, you know. You know, and I believe that we have to go beyond those things and see how, I'm jumping because I know we have very little time, how can we, men and women of good faith, that aspire to a higher level, high ambition of having a family, because we come all from the same. Genetical studies prove that human beings come all from the same progenitor, if I can say that. So, and I have discovered along the years the pleasure of finding people that wants to improve themselves, humanity, the society where we are. And this is the right place, you know. And my dream is that in the days in which we live, where nations have the courage to vote leaders that are clearly self-centered, with the exclusion of poor, exclusion of the ones that are not known, that belong to the club, we have to be scared. So how can we find this humanity? Ganoune, we know each other from school. We became friends, met together in Cologne, France. Dr. Vera Jardim is the one that I start knowing with the question of religious liberty. I was in Portugal, president of the union when the law was coming, and I start discovering with Dr. Sousa Brito, that is not here, how many times we discussed personally to find the best formula, to be there. I was in his office discussing. Sometimes, one time we came to Seventh-day Adventists speak about the church. He was telling me about trends and the currents of thought inside of Catholic Church. Then we came to Seventh-day Adventist Church. I thought he didn't know anything about Seventh-day Adventist Church. I was trying to help him. He opened a cupboard. I saw a roll line of books, Seventh-day Adventist books. And he knew the trends inside of Seventh-day Adventist Church. I was astonished. I said, wow. And we became very good friends. I let Ibrahim for the end. This is my dear friend. He knows, I am not going to make any statement here. How deep is our connection? How deep? Something beyond our country, our culture, connects us deeply. We have the same motivations. We are fighting for the same thing. And my wish is that these may go deeper, that we may be a club, call it as you want, or association that wants to teach the world, even if it was small, a lesson that goes against the stream, the mainstream today, that we may be a source of inspiration, that we may make disciples. Maybe you were referring to that. You know, my greatest pleasure, you know that. It's not as leader, you know, my greatest pleasure is to find the people, the right people, and help them grow. Being behind, disappearing. Paulo was working for a political party. I saw he had he was very good. I say, Paulo, we need you here working with us for religious liberty. The connection established there. I know Paulo don't need me because he has the talents. I just try to encourage him. And I could speak about other leaders. I am not saying that but just to say, why couldn't we all have our pleasure in promoting others? It's a shift in thinking, and this is basically what makes nations big. If you want to go to failure, try to make your nation big, thinking about yourself, your collapse. We all depend on each other. And I will stop now. You know, relationships are important. You cannot have successful relationships if you don't think about the other and helping positively. So I have spoken.
Thank you so much. I have another question for Dr. Vera Jardim, and then I will open the floor. Think about 1-2 questions. We have some time probably for 2 questions before we go to the closing session. So think about it so that you be the first to raise your hand. Dr. Vera Jardim, you are a statesman. Sometimes it's very difficult in statements to find 2 main characteristics. The first is the gravitas that the state imposes. The second one is being able to be close to people. But I know that every 2 years you assemble all the communities and you ask them about the challenges. What challenges did impress you the most? And why do you keep having this inside movement to help the communities? If you want to answer in a broader way, please feel free.
You know, we live in Europe, a time of secularization. The problem of religious liberty and equality is that it becomes year after year more irrelevant. I received a lot of reports on human rights. None of these, the great institutions, none of these speaks of religious liberty. They speak of all the other rights associated, so on and so on and so on, not from religious people. More, in my country, there was a great, to celebrate the 50 years of the revolution, there was a great congress with all the liberties that